I was invisible. That's what being a waiter at Lumiere felt like, a ghost in black and white, refilling glasses nobody thanked me for. The crystal chandeliers sparkled above tables where the city's elite whispered deals and secrets. I moved between them silently, my worn shoes squeaking occasionally on marble floors. That night Kang Ryu walked in. Everyone knew his name, the Mafia Heir whose eyes could freeze blood. Women straightened their dresses. Men adjusted their ties. Even my manager bowed so low I thought his spine might snap. Beside him walked a small boy, maybe 5 years old, Minyu, his son. The child's face was blank, emotionless, like a miniature version of his terrifying father. People cooed at him, desperate for Ryu's attention. The boy ignored them all, his dark eyes staring through everyone like we didn't exist. I approached their table carefully, trembling. As I poured water, some splashed. My manager shot me a death glare. I knelt quickly to wipe it, bringing myself to Minyu's eye level. "Sorry about that," I whispered, smiling gently. The boy blinked, then, impossibly, the corners of his mouth twitched upward. I froze had he just smiled. "Minyu," Ryu said coldly, not noticing, "sit properly." The boy's tiny smile vanished, but his eyes stayed on me. Throughout dinner, while his father conducted business with dangerous-looking men, Minyu kept glancing my way. Every time I passed, that small smile returned. Other waiters whispered, "What's wrong with that kid? Creepy how he stares." But I didn't think it was creepy, I thought he looked lonely. When dessert arrived, I brought Minyu a special chocolate sculpture our chef made, a tiny dragon. "For you," I said softly, placing it before him. His eyes went wide. He touched it carefully, then looked up at me with something like wonder. Dinner ended, Ryu stood, buttoning his suit jacket with sharp, precise movements. His men flanked him. Minyu slid off his chair obediently. Then the impossible happened. As they walked toward the exit, Minyu stopped. He turned back, staring directly at me across the crowded restaurant, his small hand raised, pointing. "Dad," he said clearly. The entire restaurant went silent. I thought I'd misheard, everyone did. Ryu stopped mid-step, his expression unreadable. His men exchanged confused glances. "Minyu," Ryu said quietly, dangerously, "we're leaving." The boy shook his head. He walked back toward me, past the frozen diners, past my horrified manager. His small hand grabbed my sleeve. "Dad," he repeated, looking up at me. My heart hammered. I think there's been a mistake. "Minyu," Ryu's voice could cut steel, but the boy didn't let go. He wrapped both arms around my leg, burying his face in my apron. Staff members gasped. Nobody touched Kang Ryu's son, nobody. Ryu approached slowly. I wanted to disappear into the floor, but then I saw his eyes, not angry but confused, maybe even curious. "He doesn't usually," Ryu trailed off. "He's never done this before." For 10 agonizing minutes they tried to separate us. Minyu cried, actual tears streaming down his blank little face. The boy who never smiled, never spoke, now sobbing and clinging to a stranger. Finally Ryu sighed. He looked at me properly for the first time. "Your name?" "Jin Seo, sir." "You're coming with us." My manager fired me before I could even grab my coat. "You embarrassed this establishment," he screamed, making a scene with our most important client. I barely heard him. I was being ushered into a black limousine that probably cost more than I'd earn in 10 lifetimes. Minyu sat beside me, still holding my hand, his tears drying but his grip iron-tight. Ryu sat across from us, studying me like I was a puzzle he needed to solve. His suit probably cost more than my rent. His watch glittered in the dim light. Everything about him screamed power and danger. "How much?" he asked finally. "I'm sorry." "To spend time with Minyu, name your price." I blinked. "You want to pay me?" "He's never attached to anyone, not nannies, not teachers, not even me." Ryu's jaw tightened. "Whatever you did, he needs it, so how much?" I thought about my overdue rent notice, my empty fridge, my mother's medical bills I'd never finished paying even after her death. I don't know what I did," I admitted honestly. I just smiled at him. "Then keep doing it." Ryu's eyes were cold, but something flickered there, desperation. "I'll pay whatever it takes." The mansion appeared suddenly, massive and cold like a castle from a nightmare. Minyu pulled me inside eagerly. And when we stepped through those huge doors, he smiled brilliantly, beautifully transforming his whole face. Ryu stared at his son like seeing him for the first time. "He won't eat," the head servant told me the next morning, wringing her hands. "Never does for us, maybe you could try." I found Minyu at a dining table big enough for 20 people, pushing eggs around his plate with dead eyes. The moment he saw me, his face lit up. "Morning," I said softly, sitting beside him instead of across. "What's wrong with breakfast?" He pointed at the eggs, too white. I laughed. "Fair enough, want to help me make something better?" In the massive kitchen, we made simple scrambled eggs with cheese, nothing fancy, but we made them together. Minyu cracked eggs badly, mixed ingredients messily, and laughed when I pretended the spatula was a sword. He ate every bite. That became our routine. I'd arrive each morning and Minyu would run to me, actually run, something servants said he never did. We'd cook together, read stories, play in the enormous garden. The cold mansion filled with a child's laughter for the first time. Servants whispered, "It's like magic, the boy's becoming human." Ryu watched from doorways, never interfering but always present. His expression never changed, but I caught him watching Minyu's smile with something almost like longing. 3 weeks passed. At dinner with Ryu's business associates, Minyu suddenly stood on his chair. "This is Jin," he announced proudly to the startled men, "my other dad." The room went silent. Ryu's knuckles whitened around his wine glass, my face burned. But his heart, I swear I saw something shift in those cold, dark eyes. The whispers started immediately. At Ryu's business meetings, at charity events, in the underground world where his name carried weight, everyone talked about the mysterious waiter who'd captured the son's heart. Socialites at a gallery opening made sure I heard them. "Some common nobody," one hissed, dripping diamonds, "probably using the child to get to Ryu's fortune." I tried ignoring them, but words cut deeper than I expected. I was just a broke waiter who'd lost his job. I didn't belong in their world of silk and secrets. Minyu noticed my sadness. "Don't listen to them," he said with a 5-year-old's wisdom. "You're my dad because you're nice, they're mean." But the worst came from an unexpected source. My old restaurant manager somehow discovered where I'd gone. He called me one evening, voice oily with false sweetness. "Jin, heard you landed quite the opportunity. Bet the tabloids would pay well for an insider story about the Don's precious son, wouldn't they?" My blood ran cold. I'd never. "Of course not, but others might think you would," he laughed darkly. "Would be a shame if rumors started, unless you could help me secure a meeting with Mr. Kang, just business." It was blackmail. "I can't. Think about it." He hung up. That night I couldn't sleep. Minyu had drawn pictures of the three of us, him in the middle, holding both our hands. "My family," he'd labeled it. I was endangering them just by existing here. Minyu was plotting something. I noticed the signs: conspiratorial giggles with servants, suspicious innocence when I asked questions. It started small. "Jin, can you help me reach the movie player?" he'd ask when Ryu was working. Then, "Oh, Dad's here, might as well watch together." Suddenly the three of us were squeezed on a couch, Minyu between us, watching cartoons. Ryu looked uncomfortable, checking his phone constantly, but he stayed. Next came matching aprons. "The store only had these," Minyu claimed, presenting 3 identical ones with cartoon bears. His terrible lie was adorable. "We should all cook together." Ryu actually joined us. He was terrible at cooking, burning rice, oversalting everything. Minyu laughed hysterically. Even I smiled at the feared Mafia Heir cursing at scrambled eggs. "I run an empire," Ryu muttered, "but eggs defeat me." "Maybe you're trying too hard," I said without thinking. "Just feel it instead of controlling it." Our eyes met, something passed between us, recognition, maybe understanding. Ryu's phone buzzed. He ignored it, focusing on the pan. "See, you're doing it," Minyu cheered. Later, I tucked Minyu into bed. His room was huge, but he'd covered it with our drawings, our photos, our memories. "Operation Make Dads Happy is working," he whispered. "Operation what?" "SHH secret," he grinned. Walking back, I heard its soft singing from Minyu's room. I'd left my phone there. I stepped to the doorway and froze. Ryu stood inside, listening to me sing through my forgotten recording. His cold expression had cracked and he was smiling, really, truly smiling. Our eyes met, he didn't stop smiling. The charity gala was a mistake. Ryu insisted I attend, Minho wants you there, but I felt like a fraud in my borrowed suit, surrounded by people whose jewelry cost more than my life. Hana, a socialite who'd made her intentions toward Ryu painfully obvious, spotted me immediately. Everyone look, she announced loudly, the help thinks he belongs with us. People turned, whispered, laughed. I heard he's just a phase, she continued, circling me like a predator. That little boy will forget him eventually, children always do with their toys. My face burned, I wanted to disappear. Funny, a cold voice cut through the whispers. Ryu appeared beside me, imposing in his black suit. I don't recall asking for your opinion on my family's business. Hana paled, Ryu, I didn't mean. Jin is here because Minyu wants him here. Question that again, question my son's happiness again, and you'll find yourself uninvited from more than parties. His voice dropped to something dangerous, permanently. The room went silent. Ryu's hand touched my back gently, protectively. Come, Minyu wanted to show you the desserts. We walked away from their shocked faces. My heart hammered, not from embarrassment anymore, but from the warmth of his unexpected protection. That night, our photo spread across social media. Me, Ryu, and Minyu laughing at the dessert table, looking like an actual family. The caption read, Mafia Don's mystery lover revealed. Everything changed after that. Ryu's advisors cornered him the next morning. I wasn't supposed to hear, but voices carried in the mansion's marble halls. This is becoming a liability, an older man said coldly. The waiter needs to go. Minyu needs him, Ryu countered. Minyu is 5, he'll recover, but this, papers rustled. Enemies are circling, they see weakness, a common boy who's captured your attention, they'll use him. I said no. Then at least let us investigate him, ensure he's not a plant, a spy. Silence, then quietly, do it discreetly. My heart sank, I crept away before they heard me. For days I noticed the surveillance. Men in suits photographing me, questions asked to my old neighbors, my life dissected by strangers. I understood, in Ryu's world trust was death, but it still hurt. A week later, Ryu's head advisor summoned me. He slid a folder across his desk, expression unreadable. Your mother, Jin Seo, born Park Min-jae, worked for the Choi family, rivals of the Kang Syndicate 20 years ago. She died in suspicious circumstances when you were 10. My blood turned to ice. My mother was a maid. Your mother, he interrupted, witnessed things she shouldn't have. The Choi family's dirty secrets. Some say she was going to testify, then she died. What are you saying? I'm saying your presence here is either cosmic coincidence or calculated revenge. His eyes were flint. Which is it? I didn't even know. Mr. Kang will decide what to believe. But know this, if you're playing him using that child, you won't simply be fired. He didn't need to finish, the threat hung heavy in the air. I found Ryu in his office staring at an open file. My file. Photos of my mother stared back, young, smiling, alive. You knew, I whispered. How long? 2 days, he didn't look up. My father ordered her death, she knew too much about the drug operation, he made it look like an accident. Tears burned my eyes, and you let me stay here around your son. I needed to understand if you knew, if this was revenge. I laughed bitterly. I was 10, I didn't even know what happened to her. My voice broke. I just thought I wasn't important enough to investigate, that she died and nobody cared because we were poor and invisible. Jin. I quit, the words tasted like ash. I'll say goodbye to Minyu and disappear, that's what you want, right? One less liability. I found Minyu in his room, surrounded by drawings of our family. His little face crumpled when he saw my tears. You're leaving, his voice was so small. I have to, but you'll be okay. No, he threw his arms around me. You promised, you said we're family. Minyu, listen. The window exploded. Glass shattered everywhere, Minyu screamed. I grabbed him, diving behind his bed as bullets tore through the wall. Then Ryu was there, throwing himself over us both, shielding our bodies with his own as the world erupted in gunfire and chaos. Ryu's security team swarmed the room within seconds. Bullets pinged off armored walls I hadn't known existed. Ryu held us tight, his body a shield, his heart hammering against my back. "Stay down," he commanded. The attack was coordinated, professional. Enemies had breached the outer walls, the garden, the mansion itself. Alarms shrieked. Men shouted orders. Through the chaos, I heard Ryu's cold voice directing his forces with mechanical precision. "Minyu," I pulled the sobbing child closer. "Close your eyes, I've got you." "Don't leave me," he whimpered. "Never." Ryu moved like lethal poetry. He grabbed a gun from a dead attacker, returned fire, issued commands, all while keeping himself between us and danger. This was the feared Mafia Heir, the man who'd built an empire on blood and fear. But his hands were gentle when he checked Minyu for injuries. "Jin, can you run?" Ryu asked. "Yes." "When I say go, take Minyu to the safe room. Third door left, code is Minyu's birthday, understand?" Before I could answer, an attacker burst through the door. Ryu shot without hesitation. The man fell, but as he died, he laughed. "We know about Jin Seo," the man choked out. "Park Min-jae's son, he's the key to ending your bloodline." He died before finishing. Ryu's face went white. He looked at me with something terrible: fear, realization, betrayal, all mixed together. "Go," he whispered, "now." I ran with Minyu in my arms, his face buried in my neck, his tears soaking my shirt. Behind us, gunfire echoed like thunder. The safe room was cold steel and silence. Minyu clung to me, shaking. Hours passed before Ryu entered, blood on his suit, exhaustion in his eyes. "They're gone," he said flatly, "for now." But something had changed. His gaze on me was different, calculated, distant. The warmth I'd imagined before was gone, replaced by the ice that made him legendary. "You're staying here," he said, "no leaving the mansion, for your safety." It sounded like a prison sentence. Days blurred together. I was confined to my wing, guards at every door. Minyu was allowed to visit, but briefly, supervised. The child didn't understand why his dads were suddenly strangers. "Did you fight?" Minyu asked one afternoon. "It's complicated," I said softly. "Adults always say that when they're wrong." Ryu watched from doorways but never entered. At night, I heard him packing outside my room. Once his hand touched the doorknob, it never turned. 2 weeks after the attack, he summoned me to his office. His eyes were hollow, his jaw set. "They targeted you specifically, your mother's connection to the Choi family. It's not coincidence." He slid papers across his desk. "You're a vulnerability to Minyu, to everything I've built. So what do you want?" "Leave tonight, I'll give you money, a new identity." "And Minyu?" His mask cracked. "Minyu will understand eventually." "Will he?" I stood, anger flooding through me. "Or will he just become like you, cold and alone, thinking love is a liability?" Behind the door, neither of us noticed the small shadow listening, tears streaming down his face. Minyu ran away that night. The mansion erupted in chaos. Guards searched everywhere. Staff checked every room, every closet, every hiding spot the clever child had ever used. He took his backpack, a maid reported, and the family drawing. Ryu's composure shattered. "Find him now." But I already knew. I'd seen the bus schedule in Minyu's room, circled in red crayon. The route to my old apartment, the one he'd visited once when I needed to collect my things. I ran without permission, guards shouting behind me. The streets were dark, cold. Rain started falling, heavy, punishing. I found him at the bus stop 3 blocks from the mansion, soaked and shivering, clutching his backpack and crying. "Minyu," I dropped to my knees, pulling him into my arms. "What were you thinking?" "You're leaving," he sobbed. "Dad said you're leaving and I'll understand, but I won't. I don't understand why everyone leaves." "Oh, sweetheart. If you leave, take me with you. Please, I'll be good, I promise." My heart shattered. Then I noticed them, 3 men in dark clothing emerging from the shadows around us. Their hands moved to their jackets, weapons. I pulled Minyu behind me, suddenly understanding what key to ending the bloodline meant. They'd use him to destroy Ryu, use me to get to him. "Run," I whispered to Minyu. "No. Run." The men advanced. I had nothing, no weapons, no training, just a desperate need to protect the child clinging to my legs. Then headlights blazed through the rain. A car screeched to a stop. Ryu emerged like an avenging angel, gun drawn, eyes blazing with protective fury. "Get away from them," he said, voice deadly calm. The men scattered. Ryu fired warning shots, then gathered us both, herding us into the car with shaking hands. The fight was swift and brutal. Ryu's backup team surrounded us, taking down attackers with professional efficiency. But one man, pinned, defeated, laughed as Ryu approached. "You don't even know, do you?" He spat blood. "That boy you're protecting, his mother betrayed your father, got your uncle killed with her testimony to the police." Ryu's gun pressed against the man's forehead. "Explain." "Park Min-jae, she was supposed to be loyal to the Choi family, but she wore a wire, recorded everything. Your father found out, had her killed before she could testify." His eyes slid to me. "But her son, he's insurance. The Choi family's been watching him for years, waiting for the right moment." "That's a lie," I breathed. "Is it? Ask your mom's old friends, ask why she really died." He grinned bloodily. "The sins of the mother." Ryu knocked him unconscious. In the car, silence suffocated us. Minyu slept fitfully against my shoulder, exhausted from crying. Ryu drove with white knuckles, jaw clenched. At the mansion, his advisor was waiting. "Mr. Kang, the council has voted for the safety of your son and the organization." He glanced at me with cold eyes. "Jin Seo must be eliminated. He's a threat, intentional or not." "No," Minyu whispered, waking. "No, no, no." Ryu stood frozen between his son and his empire. "There's another option," I said quietly. "I leave tonight, disappear completely. Minyu stays safe, you stay powerful, everyone wins." "Except us," Minyu sobbed. "Sometimes love means letting go." I kissed his forehead, tears streaming down my face. "Remember me, okay? Your other dad who loved you so much." Ryu said nothing. His silence spoke volumes. I left before dawn, taking nothing but memories and a child's drawing labeled "My Real Dad's." 1 month, that's how long I lasted before Ryu's investigator found me working at a shabby diner on the city's edge, serving truckers and insomniacs. I'd lost weight, sleep, hope. My apartment was a box with a mattress and memories. Every night I stared at Minyu's drawing, wondering if he'd forgotten me yet, if his smile had returned for someone new. The diner manager kept asking if I was okay. I kept lying. Then one Tuesday night, the bell chimed. I looked up from wiping tables. And my heart stopped. Ryu sat in a booth wearing an ordinary jacket instead of his usual suit. He looked tired, human. "Coffee," he said quietly. "Black." My hands shook, pouring it. "You shouldn't be here." "I know. If your enemies see." "I don't care." I set down the cup, our fingers brushed, neither of us pulled away. "How is he?" I had to know. Ryu's expression crumbled. "He doesn't smile anymore, doesn't speak unless necessary. He's exactly like he was before you." His voice broke. "He asks for you every night, cries himself to sleep holding that drawing." Tears burned my eyes. "I'm sorry." "I'm the one who's sorry." Ryu looked up and I saw it, regret, pain, something deeper. "I chose power over family, fear over love. I thought I was protecting him, but I destroyed him instead." "Ryu." The diner's door crashed open, armed men flooded in, and I knew we'd been followed. The rival family finally making their move. But this time, Ryu and I fought side by side, protecting each other like we'd protected Minyu. And when it was over, surrounded by unconscious attackers and broken glass, we stood together, bruised, bleeding, alive. "I can't keep running," I whispered. "Then don't." Ryu's hand found mine. "Come home, both of you, come home." Behind him, hiding in his car, I saw a small face pressed against the window. "Minyu." For a month, Ryu had searched for me, not through his organization, not through investigators, personally. Driving around the city during sleepless nights, checking every diner, every restaurant, every place a former waiter might work. "I couldn't send my men," he explained as we drove back, Minyu asleep between us. "If the council knew I was looking for you, they'd have found you first, finished what they started. So you risked yourself. For my family, always." The word family hung between us, heavy with meaning. Minyu stirred, opening sleepy eyes. When he saw me, his face exploded into pure joy. "Jin, you're real. Dad said we were getting you back, but I thought I was dreaming." "I'm real, sweetheart." Promise you won't leave again. His tiny hand grabbed both of ours, pressing them together. Promise. Ryu and I looked at each other. His thumb brushed my knuckles, gentle, questioning, hopping. I promise, we said together. But promises in the Mafia world are written in blood, and ours was about to be tested. At the mansion, the council was waiting. 12 men in expensive suits, expressions ranging from disapproval to outright hostility. Mr. Kang, the head advisor, said coldly, "We need to discuss your decision." Ryu's hand tightened around mine. "There's nothing to discuss. Jin stays, Minyu needs him. He paused, I need him. The admission shocked everyone, including me. Even if it costs you everything, another council member asked. Your position, your power, your life. Ryu looked at Minyu, sleeping peacefully for the first time in weeks, then at me. Especially then. The diner attack made headlines. Mafia violence spreads to civilian areas. Police investigated. Reporters dug for stories. And somewhere in that chaos, someone leaked photos of Ryu and me together, fighting side by side, hands clasped afterward, looking at each other like the world had narrowed to just us. The media erupted. Secret romance, Mafia Don's male lover, the waiter who stole a killer's heart. I wanted to hide. Ryu seemed unbothered, but I noticed the increased security, the tension in his shoulders, the way he checked Minyu's room 3 times each night. "They're circling," he admitted one evening. We were in his study, somewhere I'd never been invited before. Books lined the walls, photos of Minyu covered his desk. The council sees weakness, rivals see opportunity, my enemies are planning something. Then maybe I should. Don't, he moved closer, don't say you should leave, we're past that. Are we? I gestured at the newspapers scattered across his desk. Everyone thinks I'm using you, using Minyu. Maybe they're right, maybe I'm poison to your family. You are my family. The words hung between us like a confession. Ryu's walls, so carefully constructed, so impenetrable, crumbled in that moment. I've spent my whole life being cold, he whispered. Feeling nothing, needing no one, it kept me safe, powerful, feared. His hand touched my face gently. Then Minyu smiled at you and suddenly there was warmth in my world, light, and I was terrified because light casts shadows and shadows hide enemies. Ryu's. But I'm more terrified of going back to the cold, of watching Minyu become like I was, empty, alone, powerful but hollow. His forehead touched mine. You taught us how to feel, don't apologize for that. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Ryu pulled back, composing himself, but his hand lingered on mine. The head advisor entered without knocking. We have a problem. The rival Don, head of the Choi family, requested a meeting, not an attack, not a threat, a formal sit-down to discuss the situation regarding Park Min-jae's son. It's a trap, Ryu's head of security said immediately. Obviously, Ryu replied, but refusing shows weakness, we go. Not we, I interrupted. You, I'm the target, I stay hidden. No, Ryu's tone left no room for argument. We face this together. The meeting took place in neutral territory, an abandoned warehouse district where both families' security teams could maintain sight lines. Ryu, 3 of his men and me on one side. The Choi Don, his advisors and bodyguards on the other. The Don was older, weathered, with eyes like a snake. He smiled when he saw me. So you're Min-jae's son, you have her eyes. He circled me slowly. Your mother was a remarkable woman, loyal to us, efficient, discreet until she wasn't. She tried to do the right thing, I said quietly. She tried to destroy us, there's a difference. He turned to Ryu. You know what she cost us, 6 of our men arrested because of her wire, operations worth millions exposed. My brother, your father's rival, committed suicide in prison because of her testimony. My father killed her, I shot back. Isn't that revenge enough? For her, perhaps, but debts pass down through blood. His smile was cruel. You carry her sin, and in our world sins must be paid. Ryu stepped between us. He's under my protection. Then you're choosing him over peace? Over the alliance our families have maintained since your father's death? The Don's voice hardened. He's one boy. I'm offering you the entire Eastern Territory, profitable partnerships, an end to years of Cold War. All you have to do is give up one insignificant waiter. No. Think about your son, your empire, your legacy. I said no. Silence fell, the Don's expression darkened. Then you've chosen war. We barely escaped. The Dawn's men opened fire as we ran for the cars. Bullets shattered windows, pinged off metal. Ryu shielded me with his body, again, taking a graze to his shoulder that left blood streaming down his arm. "I'm fine," he growled when I tried to check it. "Just drive." At the mansion, doctors cleaned and stitched his wound while Minyu cried in the corner, terrified by the blood. I held the child, whispering reassurances I didn't believe. "This is war," the head advisor said grimly. "The Choi family is mobilizing. Our sources say they're calling in favors, building alliances. They want us destroyed." "Then we fight," Ryu said simply. "Against everyone, for him," the advisor gestured at me. "This is madness." "No, this is family." Later, after Minyu fell asleep between us, Ryu and I sat in the darkness. His wounded shoulder was bandaged, his face exhausted. "I should go," I whispered. "End this before more people die." "They'd kill you within a day. Is that what you want, to leave Minyu without you? To leave him alive?" "He wouldn't be, not really." Ryu's good hand found mine. "You don't see it, do you? How you changed everything. This mansion was a mausoleum. Minyu was a ghost. I was already dead, just too cold to realize it." His voice cracked. "You brought us back to life. I won't let you go. Even if it costs you everything. You are everything." Rain started falling outside, soft, constant, like tears. We sat in silence, holding hands, watching Minyu sleep peacefully despite the war raging around us. "There might be a way," I finally said, "to end this without more bloodshed." "How?" "The truth, all of it, about my mother, your father, everything that really happened 20 years ago." I met his eyes. "Your father's guilt." Ryu went very still. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying maybe it's time both our families faced what really happened that night." Ryu's private investigator returned 3 days later with a file thick enough to rewrite history. We sat in his study, me, Ryu, and his most trusted advisor, as the truth spilled out. "Your mother didn't betray the Choi family for justice," the investigator began. "She did it to protect you, Jin. She discovered they were running a child trafficking operation alongside their drug trade. She wore that wire because she found evidence they were planning to recruit children from the orphanage where you stayed after school." My blood turned to ice. "She went to Ryu's father because the Kang family, despite their crimes, had one absolute rule: no crimes against children. She thought he'd help her stop it." The investigator's face was grim. "Instead, he made a deal with the Choi Don, exposed your mother's wire in exchange for a larger territory. She became a sacrifice to secure peace." "My father sold her out," Ryu whispered, horrified. "And when the Choi family wanted her dead, your father's men carried it out, made it look like an accident." More papers slid across the desk. "But she'd hidden backup evidence, documents, recordings, photographs, everything needed to destroy both families. She told one person where to find it if anything happened to her." "Who?" I asked. "Your mother's sister, your Aunt Jin. She's been holding it for 23 years, waiting for the right moment." I'd thought I had no family left. Tears burned my eyes. "Where is she?" "Busan, running a small bookshop. We contacted her yesterday." He handed me a phone. "She wants to speak with you." My aunt's voice was my mother's voice, older, wearier, but unmistakably similar. "Jin-ah, is it really you?" "It's me," I choked out. "Your mother loved you so much. Everything she did, everything was to keep you safe." She was crying too. "I have her evidence, all of it. If you need it, if you're ready to use it, I'll bring it to you. But Jin, once we open this door, there's no closing it. Both families will fall. The truth will destroy everything." I looked at Ryu, at the man who'd chosen me over his empire, over his legacy, over everything his father had built on blood and lies. "Bring it," I said. "We're ready." The next day, Ryu called an emergency meeting. Not just his council, every major player in both families, neutral mediators, even police contacts who could ensure protection. The Choi Don arrived with his men, expecting a surrender. Instead, he found evidence of his family's darkest secrets spread across the table. 23 years ago," Ryu began, his voice carrying the weight of judgment, "both our fathers committed unforgivable crimes. My father betrayed an innocent woman to maintain power. Yours murdered her to hide child trafficking operations that continued for another 5 years before police finally shut them down." The Choi Don's face went white. Jin Seo's mother, Park Min-jae, was a hero. She died protecting children, including her own son, from monsters. Ryu's hand found mine under the table, and both our families killed her for it. The revelation sent shockwaves through both organizations. Council members shouted, denied, accused. But the evidence was undeniable: documents in my mother's handwriting, recordings of conversations, photographs of children being transported. The Choi Don tried to leave. Ryu's men blocked the exits. "You wanted Jin dead to bury this secret," Ryu said coldly. "To erase the last witness to your family's sins, but now everyone knows. The police, the media contacts outside this room, they all have copies. Kill us and it goes public immediately." "You destroy your own family," the Don spat. "I destroy the corruption my father built, yes, and rebuild something worth inheriting." Ryu looked at Minu's photo on his phone. "Something my son can be proud of." But Ryu's head advisor, the man who'd been with the family for 30 years, stood abruptly. "This is treason. This is justice. Your father built this empire, you'd throw it away for a waiter, for sentiment." The advisor's face twisted with rage. "I won't let you destroy everything we worked for." He pulled a gun, not aimed at the Choi Don, aimed at me. "You're the poison," he hissed. "You infected Mr. Kang with weakness, turned him soft. Without you he'd be strong again, ruthless, proper." "Put it down," Ryu ordered, his own weapon drawn. "I'm saving you, saving the family." The advisor's hand shook. "I leaked the photos to the media. I told the Choi family where to find the waiter. I've been trying to eliminate this problem for months, but you kept protecting him. You betrayed me. I'm the only one still loyal to what the Kang family should be," he fired. The bullet meant for me hit Ryu instead. He'd moved impossibly fast, throwing himself between us one final time. He collapsed in my arms, blood spreading across his white shirt like spilled wine. The room erupted. Ryu's men subdued the advisor. The Choi Don used the chaos to escape, but I noticed none of it. I was on the floor, pressing my hands against Ryu's wound, screaming for help. "Stay with me," I begged. "Please, Ryu, stay with me." His hand touched my face, leaving blood on my cheek. "Minu, protect Minu. We'll protect him together. You're going to be fine. You have to be fine." Tears streamed down my face. "You don't get to leave us. You promised. We're family, remember," you said. "I love you." The words were soft, bloody, perfect. "Should have said it sooner. Then say it again later, after you survive, after we go home and Minu tackles you and we cook terrible eggs together." I was sobbing now, pressing harder against the wound. "Say it again when you're not dying." "Not dying." His smile was weak, just tired. Paramedics arrived. They pulled me away from him, gentle but firm. I watched them work, watched them load him onto a stretcher, watched the ambulance doors close between us. At the hospital, I sat in the waiting room covered in his blood. Minu was brought by a bodyguard, and the moment he saw me, he knew. "Dad," his voice was so small. "Where's my other dad?" "He's fighting," I whispered, pulling him close. "He's strong, he'll come back to us. Promise." I couldn't, so I just held him while he cried. Hours crawled past. Doctors came and went with updates I barely understood. Surgery, complications, critical condition, every word was a knife. Then finally, a doctor emerged with exhausted eyes and the barest hint of a smile. "He's stable, alive, he wants to see his family." Minu and I ran. Ryu looked pale against white hospital sheets, tubes and wires everywhere. But his eyes opened when we entered and that familiar almost smile appeared. "You came back," he whispered. "Always," I said, taking his hand. Minu climbed carefully onto the bed, curling against his father's side. "We're not going anywhere." "Good." His thumb brushed my knuckles, because I wasn't finished saying things. "Then say them. You taught me how to love, how to be more than cold, more than my father's son." His eyes held mine. "You're my home, Jin Seo, both of you my real family." I kissed his forehead gently. "You don't have to be cold anymore." "No," he agreed softly, "I really don't." Ryu spent 2 weeks in the hospital. In that time the world shifted. The evidence my mother had gathered brought down the Choi family's entire operation. Federal investigations were launched. Arrests were made. The child trafficking ring she died trying to expose was finally destroyed, 23 years too late but destroyed nonetheless. The Choi Don fled the country, his empire crumbled. Ryu's betrayer, his trusted advisor, was arrested for attempted murder. In interrogations, he revealed years of corruption, of deals made behind Ryu's back, of power plays that had undermined the family's transition toward legitimacy. "I was trying to clean house anyway," Ryu told me from his hospital bed. "He just made it easier." The council fractured. Half supported Ryu's new direction, legitimate business, no human trafficking, no drugs, no violence against innocents. The other half resigned or were forced out. "We're rebuilding," Ryu explained to Minyu, who sat beside him coloring pictures of our family. "Making something better, something you can inherit without shame." "Will Jin stay?" Minyu asked seriously. Ryu looked at me. "That's his choice." I'd been offered money to leave, enough to start over anywhere. Multiple council members had suggested it would be cleaner if I disappeared. Some newspapers still called me a gold digger, a manipulator. But then I looked at Minyu's drawing, 3 stick figures holding hands, labeled "My Dad's and Me," and I knew. "I'm staying," I said firmly, "if you'll have me." "If?" Ryu's smile was genuine now, warm, nothing like the cold mask he'd worn when we met. "Jin, I nearly died for you. I destroyed my family's legacy for you. I chose you over an empire." His hand reached out. "Of course I'll have you." Our fingers intertwined. Minyu cheered and colored a giant heart around our stick figures. The day Ryu came home from the hospital, the mansion felt different, lighter somehow. Staff members smiled instead of cowering. Minyu's laughter echoed through halls that had been silent for years. That evening, we sat together in the garden, all 3 of us. Minyu fell asleep against Ryu's shoulder. The stars came out. "I keep thinking about what you said," Ryu murmured, "about being cold." "You're not anymore." "No, because of you." He looked at me with eyes that had seen too much darkness but had finally found light. "You reached out to a child everyone ignored, smiled at him when everyone else wanted something, and somehow, impossibly, you saved us both. You saved me too, from invisibility, from thinking I didn't matter. You matter." His voice was fierce. "You matter more than anything." He leaned closer slowly, giving me time to pull away. I didn't. Our lips met softly, a first kiss that tasted like hope and second chances and family. When we pulled apart, Minyu was peeking at us with one eye. "Took you long enough," he mumbled sleepily, then grinned. "Does this mean we're really a family now?" Ryu and I looked at each other and smiled. "Yes," we said together, "really." 6 months later, the transformation was complete. Ryu had dissolved the criminal syndicate's worst operations and rebuilt the Kang family business into something legitimate: real estate development, tech investments, charity foundations. "My father built an empire on fear," he told reporters at the press conference. "I'm building one on hope." I opened a small cafe in the city, nothing fancy, just a warm place where invisible people could be seen, where tired workers could rest, where a child could get a free cookie and a smile. Minyu helped me name it, "The First Smile." Ryu was there every morning, drinking terrible coffee I made and pretending it was good. Minyu greeted every customer with enthusiasm, his cold mask completely gone. He was warm now, open, kind, everything a child should be. "He's exactly like you," Ryu told me one quiet afternoon. "He learned it from watching you. He learned it from having someone who loves him unconditionally." So did I. The cafe became popular not because of the Kang name but because it felt safe. Real, human, people came not for status but for warmth. One evening, after closing, Ryu knelt before me, not to propose. He'd explained his world didn't allow for legal marriages that could be used against us, but to give me something more important. "This is a key to everything I own: bank accounts, properties, businesses, all of it." He pressed the small key into my palm. "If something happens to me, you and Minyu inherit everything, legally, irrevocably." "Ryu, I need you to understand, you're not just someone I love, you're family, equal partner, co-parent." His eyes were serious. "I trust you with my life, my son, my legacy, everything." I pulled him up and kissed him. "Then I guess we're really doing this for the rest of our lives." That night, we tucked Minyu into bed together. He was getting bigger now, losing his baby face, but he still insisted on holding both our hands as he fell asleep. Tell me the story again, he requested, how you met. You know it by heart, I laughed. But I like how Dad tells it now, he looked at Ryu expectantly. Ryu settled beside him, his voice soft. Once upon a time, there was a cold man who'd forgotten how to smile. He had a son who'd never learned. They lived in a big house that felt empty even when it was full. Then what? Minyu prompted, though he knew every word. Then one night, a waiter with a kind smile knelt down and saw them, really saw them, when everyone else just looked through them, and everything changed. The waiter saved them, Minyu added. No, Ryu looked at me, his smile genuine and warm. We saved each other. Later, alone in our room, no longer separate spaces but one we shared, Ryu pulled me close. Thank you, he whispered. For what? For teaching me how to love, for being patient while I learned, for not giving up on a cold man and his frozen son. He kissed my forehead, for being our home. I thought about how far we'd come. From that first night in the restaurant to this moment, from invisible waiter and feared Mafia Heir to partners, parents, family. You know what I realized? I said softly. I spent my whole life being invisible, thinking I didn't matter, and you spent yours being too visible, thinking you had to be cold to survive. We were both wrong. How so? We matter because we love, we survive because we're warm. I held him tighter. Together, we're exactly what we needed. Outside our window, the city lights sparkled like stars. Inside, we'd built something better than an empire, we'd built a home. Years passed. Minyu grew into a teenager, then a young man, confident, kind, smiling easily at everyone. He worked in the cafe after school, treating every customer like they mattered, because he'd been taught that everyone does. The Kang family business thrived under Ryu's leadership, clean, legitimate, prosperous. He was no longer feared but respected. Former enemies became partners. The cold heir became a man known for fairness and integrity. I watched him at charity galas, speaking with grace and warmth, and sometimes I still couldn't believe this was the same man who'd walked into that restaurant years ago with ice in his eyes. One evening, Minyu sat us down with a serious expression. He was 17 now, preparing for university, but in that moment he looked 5 again. I want to tell you something, he began. I'm writing my college entrance essay about family and I need you to know. He pulled out a folded piece of paper, worn, faded but carefully preserved, his original drawing of us holding hands. This is my earliest memory, not the expensive toys or the big house. This, the moment I realized what family really meant. Minyu, Ryu started. Let me finish, he smiled. Everyone tried to make me smile for power, for connections, to impress Dad. They gave me gifts and attention, but it was all fake, transactional. He looked at me. You knelt down and smiled at me like I was a person, not a tool or a trophy, just a lonely kid who needed kindness. Tears stung my eyes. You took my hand, Minyu continued, and said, Dad. And I meant it. I still mean it. You taught me that family isn't about blood or names or what people expect. It's about who shows up, who stays, who loves you even when it's hard. He stood, pulling us both into a hug, tall enough now to wrap his arms around us both. I'm writing my essay about invisible people, he said. How the world overlooks them, but how one invisible waiter taught a cold family how to be warm, how he saved us by simply being kind. After he went to bed, Ryu and I stood on the balcony, watching the city we'd made peace with. Do you ever regret it? Ryu asked quietly. Everything you gave up to be with us, a normal life, safety, simplicity. Never, I took his hand, a gesture so familiar now it felt like breathing. Do you regret choosing us over your empire? That cold empire? He pulled me close. I gained everything when I chose you, love, warmth, a real son, a real life. He kissed my temple. You were never the one who gave things up, Jin, you were the one who gave everything meaning. Inside, I heard Minyu humming as he wrote, the same song I'd sung to him years ago when he was small and scared and learning how to smile. I thought about my mother who died protecting children like him, about how her sacrifice had led me here to this family, to this moment. She would have loved them, I thought, she would have been proud. What are you thinking? Ryu asked. That I spent my whole life invisible, waiting to be seen, I smiled. And then a 5-year-old boy took my hand and made me matter. You always mattered, Ryu corrected gently. We just needed you to show us how. The city lights blurred through my tears, happy ones this time. Somewhere in that first restaurant, a ghost of who I used to be was still serving invisible tables, dreaming of being noticed. But here now I was seen, loved, home. And it had all started with a smile and a small hand reaching out, choosing connection over coldness, choosing love over loneliness. Choosing family. He took my hand and said, "Dad," I whispered, echoing Minu's essay, and we never let go. Ryu's arms tightened around me. "Never," he promised. Inside, Minu called out, "Dads, come see what I wrote." We went together as we did everything now toward the sound of our son's voice, toward warmth and light and laughter. Toward home.